Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome in. We have a discussion video going on here today. So, if any of you are on Twitter and just or follow any of the bigger name Magic players or SCG grinders or any of them, you've probably noticed, or if you watch Pleasant Kenobi, you've probably noticed there's a lot of people talking about all of the sets in Magic that are coming out and have come out since about October. Now, in the span of between October to April, what we have on the screen right now is about the sets that are coming out in that window. That's a lot. And there's one under the secret layer that says other. That's because I don't know if I missed any, and we don't know if we're going to have more, which I assume we're going to have more. Um, so with that being said, I want to talk about my thoughts and my feelings on um, on the amount of sets they're releasing. So, and different things. So, my thoughts for one are when I was playing Magic when I was younger, before I got out of high school and had to really be an adult, I helped my uncle work construction. I did a bunch of this other stuff, other side jobs that he got me with. So I had a decent amount of spending money. My hobby was Magic. I chose to spend a lot of money on Magic at my local game store, online, stuff like this. When I was playing then, I didn't have a very large group of friends really. I mean, they were I knew people there, but I wasn't really friends with most of them. So I didn't have all this other formats stuff to get into. And for the most part, they only played standard, even though there was extended, and I never really got an EDH at the time. Or commander, as I guess it's called technically now. So back then, there were a lot of times where I had money to spend, but there was just the standard stuff. And that's it. I built a deck, and I didn't exactly try to build super competitive decks or meta decks at the time. I just built what I enjoyed playing. I liked brewing up cool decks and having fun with them. So in that window, there was not much released. For the most part, it was just each set, Zendikar, World Wake, Rise, Core Set, things like this. That was pretty much it. Now, that was cool. Set releasing about every 4 months, 3 months, yeah, every 3 months or so. That was cool. And of course, at the time, I had more spendable money. Now, of course, I'm an adult. I've, gas. I got bills to pay. All this other stuff I have to do. So my money doesn't exactly get to go towards whatever. So as someone who isn't able to easily spend money on paper cards, them coming out with a lot of sets doesn't do me any good. But basically, my thoughts on this, and I'm sorry they're kind of rambled. I had a lot more streamlined when I originally decided I want to do this, but I was at work doing dishes at the time, so I didn't really get to write those thoughts down. So anyway, my thoughts now are a lot of these things are not meant for the same set of players. So to me, I think it's great that they're coming out with so much content at a time, so many products. I think that's awesome because not all of this is meant for the same people. And yes, you're going to have players or people that they feel left out not being able to buy certain products. But realistically, a lot of people wouldn't be participating in a lot of these events or things that these sets facilitate. I also just realized I forgot two others. There's Unsanctioned, and which is coming out soon, and then there's going to be they released the names for the Commander 2020 decks, which I don't know when those are going to come out, but they released the names for those. So, either that or it was Brawl precons. Either way, the point is there's two more on here, so there's 16 types of sets they're coming out with. So just to kind of break it down and just physically think about it, I don't think it's a bad thing they're coming out with so many sets because they're not all intended for the same group. And what I mean by that is pretty simple, and that's what we're going to go into now. So let's take a look at just Throne of Eldraine releases itself in its own window. You have Throne of Eldraine, the set, in general, the booster boxes, all that stuff. Then you have Throne of Eldraine collector boosters, which were like 30 something dollars per pack. Basically, the like biggest definition of gambling in a booster pack you can get. Then there are the Throne of Eldraine Planeswalker decks, which they're cool as like a, oh, I got a Planeswalker deck, blah, 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 but they're not good. You know what I mean? And I believe it was somewhere that Wizards actually said they didn't make any of the cards, the exclusive cards. They didn't intend for them to be like really, really good. They intended for them just to be playable inside the confines of the two decks against each other. I believe. I could be wrong. I could be misquoting that. If I am, I do apologize. That's not my intent. Um, Either way, though, if you actually look at the exclusive cards, they're pretty terrible. Cool art, but they're terrible cards. So there's that factor. Now, the Throne of Eldraine set was insane. It impacted every single format to some degree, except maybe Commander. I'm not in touch with the Commander scene, so I can't really say specifically. But I'd imagine it had some impact. For example, it definitely had an impact on Brawl. It had a ban Oko in Brawl. Then you have, once upon a time, Veil of Summer, Oko, 3 cards that have been banned in Standard and Historic. Oko being banned in even Modern. And I mean, honestly, Veil and Once Upon a Time could be banned in Modern soon. I would not be surprised if the next Modern Banned and Restricted list, Veil had its spot on there. Or Once Upon a Time had its spot on there with the prevalence of green ramp decks right now. To be fair, I think Urza needs to go well before either of those cards, but that's my own personal bias. Not the point. Anyway, so Throne of Eldraine booster packs were very sought after because the cards had an impact across the board. So, which I mean, more so the singles, because obviously people more so wanted those specific cards, but it was all impacted across the board. Collector boosters, however, were not for that same audience. Collector boosters were for the people that wanted to bling out their decks. They wanted the fancier arts, the foils, the full arts, the extended borders. That was more intended for a wealthier group, kind of like the Ravnica Planeswalker things, like $400 exclusive. You have to buy it here on Hasbro or whatever Planeswalker sets. Those were not intended for your everyday player. Those were intended for the group of players that could afford the luxury of just dropping $400 to $800 on a product because they wanted to. That's what collector boosters are for. So collector boosters are not for me and you, the normal people that, we can't really afford to spend excess money on standard cards or on cards for our modern deck, but we're just going to buy cards. These are more intended for the collectors or for the people that, are a lot more well off and can afford this luxury items. The Planeswalker decks, again, they're for people that are starting out, younger people who want to play these decks at the kitchen table for fun, want the cool art, or want to just play them against each other to learn how to play. Now, Game Nights, what Game Nights is, for those who don't know, because I had to look it up to find out what Game Nights was when I got ready to make this video. So basically, Game Nights was a pre-constructed 560 card decks packaged thing that these decks are pre-built with the idea of playing them against one another. And you basically get down with 5 friends or up to 5 friends and you play this big mashup match. The idea sounds really fun to me for people that want to sit down and play these kind of decks. They're supposed to be well balanced for their own personal meta, which I think is really cool because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to create decks that are well built together. Now, value-wise, there's not much value in them. but they're intended to be played all together. Also, by the way, in case it wasn't obvious, this list is not in chronological order of release because obviously all of the secret layers are below Ikora, and obviously most of these secret layers have already been released, and Ikora clearly is not. It doesn't come out until April 24th, I think. Anyway, but yeah, so game night is not for your grinder, you know, your constructed player typically. It's for the more casual players that want to play at the kitchen table, want to have fun like that. Now, brawl precons, those are obviously more for your commander players or your people that actually care about brawl and want to play these cards, these decks. I know a lot of people just bought the brawl precons for the arcane signet or whatever it's called, um, which I mean makes sense. It's a really sweet um, mana rock for a commander deck. So the brawl precons, they're for the same group the Commander 2019 decks are for. Myself right now, I don't have a large enough play group or time to really play Commander, so I don't invest money into Commander. So these are not for me. They're not for your modern standard constructed player. That's not what they're for. They are for the people that care about Commander. Now, if you're one of those players that cares about all of these formats and plays all of it, that's great. And I'm sorry that you may not be able to buy into some of these things while they're at their release price because you're stretched too thin from other things. But if that's the kind of player you are, what I think is you should just be happy that you have the luxury of being able to afford stretching yourself to that extent already. And I'm not trying to bag on anyone, I'm trying to rag on anyone. This is not intended to be that. I just want to say my feelings on the matter. Don't get me wrong. If I had the money to, I would absolutely stretch myself like that. I would buy everything I could because I enjoy playing Magic and I enjoy it as a casual game, as a competitive game. I enjoy it in every spectrum of the game, and I would love to have more time and more availability and more ability to play things like Commander, to play these different things. I would love to, but they're not for me, and they're not for people that are similar to me, you know? So that's just it. Then we get to Theros, and Theros is the same thing as Storm of Eldraine. You have collector boosters, you have planeswalker decks, and you have the just set, the regular set. Again, collector boosters, high price tag, high risk, high reward at the top spectrum, not for your average person. Planeswalker decks, again, not for your person who cares about constructed, not your person that cares about having a collection necessarily. They're for the people that want to sit at their kitchen table and play these decks, or the collectors that want the foil Planeswalker cards. Challenger decks. Now, Challenger decks are awesome, and for those who don't know what Challenger decks are, basically they're, I believe, 4 pre-constructed decks, but unlike the Planeswalker decks, these are intended for players to be able to pick up and play at your FNM. So they are reasonably competitive decks. They're based off some of the best archetypes in the current of the current format. So there's a Jeskai Fires, a Simic one, and then there's 2 other decks, I believe. I don't remember what the other 2 are, but I'm pretty positive one's Jeskai Fires and one's a Simic deck. And they're really cool. The Jeskai Fires has Fires of Invention, and a lot of these come with play sets of the cards, or at least multiples. It's not like you have 1 Fires of Invention, 1 Narset. No, they have 4 Narset, 4 Fires of Invention. The value of these decks, according to Southfront Olive from MTG Goldfish, is quite good. I believe they're all about $60 or $70 worth of value. I believe one's mono red too. But anyway, normally they release at $30. So $70 worth of value for $30. Not only are they great for people who are trying to get these cards, but they're also a great way. You pick up the mono red deck, you can probably play that in FNM and win. It's really, really good. Same with the Jeskai Fires deck. So Challenger decks are super sweet. But again, that's more for the casual player who wants to get started into playing Standard with a more reasonable deck, or for a person who's trying to build these decks and just wants to pick up the bulk cards. Like, for example, if you're trying to start to build Standard and you're trying to build a Jeskai deck, the Jeskai Fires Challenger decks can be great because you can get your Narsets, you can get your Fires of Invention. I think they come with a couple Mystic Disputes. They come with some pretty sweet cards. So super awesome. I definitely think those are for anyone that cares about about standard and constructed in that form, or new players trying to get started. Mystery boosters. For those who don't know what mystery boosters are, they're basically a created set by Wizards of the Coast that have some super sweet cards in them, including playtest cards. So you have some cards that were actually made into real cards, but you have their playtest versions, which I think is really, really awesome. But mystery boosters are more for draft. That's more what they're meant for. So someone like me who's not a huge fan of limited, and the only time I would ever really play limited is Cube. The very start of a set that I'm really interested in, like Modern Horizons or something like that, or if I ever qualified for a Pro Tour Players Tour, then of course I would care about limited. But the mystery boosters are not for me. I don't care about mystery boosters. So their release doesn't affect me or concern me at all. And same thing with a lot of people I know personally that play Magic. They're not big limited players, especially not when it's outside the confines of 4 standard. So they're not going to be very interested in this. Now, if I was at a GP and a couple of my friends are like, hey, I want us to do a mystery booster draft, then I'd probably be like, yeah, okay, let's sign up and let's do it. That'd be fun. But that's not something I want to buy a box and come home to my brother's kitchen table and us all play mystery booster draft. Not something I'm interested in. Then we have Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths again. And again, this is going to, I'm assuming, be like Throne of Eldraine. We'll have Planeswalker decks. We'll have collector boosters. And at the end of the day, what I'm assuming is going to happen is it's going to be the same thing. Collector's boosters will probably have a $30 plus price tag. Planeswalker decks will be unplayable Planeswalkers with a couple personalized cards for that Planeswalker. And then just basically generic commons and uncommons. And a rare or two from the set spread out in the 2 decks. And that's it. I think it's going to be the same thing. The collector boosters will not intended for the same audience. Planeswalker decks will not be intended for the same audience. And the booster packs themselves, again, I mean, as it is, most people who care about constructed only buy singles. So booster boxes don't even really affect them very much. Some people do. I mean, again, if I could afford it, I would definitely buy a case of booster boxes at a time, with each release, just to open the packs and build a little more of a collection. I think that's a fun idea. But again, it's not the most ideal way to get into constructed, or I mean, to get into your standard deck, or even a modern deck or whatever. In fact, definitely not modern or pioneer. So then after Ikoria, we have our secret lairs, which for me, these are basically just cutesy little cool card or releases that have cool different arts and nice stuff like that. So you have, of course, Secret Lairs had a couple. The only ones I can remember off the top of my head for sure were Rats, the Theros Original Gods, the Dredge one with Life in the Loam, Bloodghast, Golgari Thug, the Serum Vision ones with the 4 different Serum Visions arts, the Cats ones. And again, like I said, I think there's going to probably be more between now and Ikoria and even beyond then, because Secret Lair seems like a really awesome idea to come out with promo art cards at a little bit higher of a price for collectors, and you can make money basically selling singles this way. I love it. I think they should do a Secret Lair lands, where they have the shock lands, or fetch lands, I mean. That'd be super sweet. Do like 3 of them at a time, or 4 of them at a time or something. Or hell, just go big, do 5 of them at a time, do all the allied, do all the enemies. I mean, yes, there's a chance that those could spike, but that'd also be a cool way of producing more of these lands, putting them out there, reprinting them. And I mean, I'm not a finance person for Magic, so I don't know what the actual impact of this would be. I assume those secret lairs would be insanely sought after, and then the reproduction into the overall market would probably be insanely expensive for those cards. But that's just it, At least for the people that are able to get the secret lairs at first, you're making some kind of effort to repopulate the market with more copies of these cards. That's it. I hope when we get to Zendikar with the Shocklands at a standard, I hope they reprint the enemy shocks and then or fetches and then they ban them in Pioneer. That's what I'm hoping for. But that's not what this video is about. Again, and then Jumpstart. Honestly, I don't quite know what it is. I just saw the release for it. I didn't read too much into it. I know it looks like a sealed set or another draft set So yeah, and then of course unsanctioned, which again that's another set that's a fun draft set. That's not for the same audience. So I mean, if you look at this, let's take it from the stance of someone who's a standard slash modern player. You have one product, two products, three products, four products, and maybe we'll call Secret Lair 5. We'll call the Secret Lairs 5 products. Out of these, what amounts to 15 that are for you. Now you're a collector, all of a sudden you have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, maybe 6, and definitely 7, 8, 9, 10. You got a lot. If you're a collector, you get a lot, but a collector has a little bit more money to spend. You know? You're a casual new player, a lot more of this is for you, sure, but a lot of things that are more targeted at you are the Planeswalker decks. You know? Uh, the Brawl precons and stuff, that's more for the Commander players. But the Planeswalker decks are for, and Challenger decks are for the kind of casual new player getting started. So overall, my thoughts here are just that. I don't think it's a bad thing that Wizards is releasing so many sets, so many products, all in such a short time. I think the issue is, for me personally, I think too many people, they see a product and go, man, that's ridiculous. You're just releasing so much stuff. How can I afford blah, blah, blah when I just bought blah, blah, blah? Well, but that may not be, they're not targeting that towards the same group. And sure, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my opinion is just wrong here. And Wizards shouldn't be releasing so much at a time. They should slow it down. But for me personally, as someone who's played Magic for quite a while, I like seeing this. I like seeing this change. I like seeing Wizards be like, hey, for all these years, you guys asked for these different things. We're going to give them to you. And I agree. Like, if your standpoint is that, well, Wizards releasing so much stuff at once is going to deteriorate the quality of the products, that I can completely get behind, and that I can agree with. If these products start to all suffer, kind of like Arena has, then I agree. They shouldn't be releasing so much stuff when they can't hardly maintain what little they have going on right now, or what they have going on normally. So, if that's your point, I completely agree. But anyway, like I said, I just want to get my feelings on this matter out. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this question. I think it's a personal opinion. And again, if you're someone who cares about and wants to buy all of this, I think if you're in that position financially or just in life, you're stable enough to be able to do that, then I think maybe you're complaining about the wrong things. Um, you know, like I said, I think you're complaining about the wrong things. Like me, I can't even afford to buy Theros packs. So when I get my income tax return on, part of it's going to go towards paying some bills. Part of it's going to go towards getting a new mic and stuff like this to help with the videos. And the rest of it's going to go towards buying some paper cards. Not the rest of it, but another portion of it's going to go towards buying some paper cards so I can play Standard again and Pioneer. Now, again, like I said, I really agree with the fact that quality could suffer, but at the same time, I think Secret Lair is a really cool, fun way of reprinting specialty art cards and basically selling singles from Wizards. I think it's a cool idea. I like it. I like the promos. I really like it. The mystery boosters, if you're into drafting, that's cool. Challenger decks are great. I think they're absolutely phenomenal. And they're great for new people starting to get in the game. They don't want to just play a crappy Planeswalker precon. Um, you know, I think that the collector boosters are really cool. They're really awesome if you have that money to spend on them. I think they're a really cool way to bling out your collection, bling out your decks. Awesome. Game night, I think that's an awesome way of playing Magic with some friends at your kitchen table. Commander precons and stuff. I think that's a great way to get into Commander. Brawl precons, great way to get into Brawl. I think these are all great products in their own right for their own target audience. But I think for me, they're just not targeting the same audience. And that's my thoughts and my feelings. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your opinions are. because I do care. I do want to know what you guys think. If you guys think there's just way too much, why? Why do you think it's too much? Um, Maybe you just think that maybe you're like me. Maybe you're like, well, it doesn't really matter to me because I don't care about Secret Lair. I don't care about mystery boosters. I don't care about jump starts. I don't care about the unset. Maybe you're like me. Maybe you just that's your opinion. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I hope this video helped you think about some stuff. Honestly, for me, I didn't realize how many sets were coming out until I actually put it into a list or had come out, or how many products, I should say, not sets. It does look like a lot on paper when we talk about the fact that there's 15 things coming out up to April, and then from October to April, and then on top of that, they released the Brawl or the Commander Precon names. So that's crazy. That is a lot when you put it on paper, but I'm not sure. I don't know if it's a bad thing or not though. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. This was a lot longer than I meant for it to be. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.